Hello and welcome to Cover Story. Today we have with us Milind Deora. He's a former two-time MP from the Congress. He's been a Lok Sabha MP, but as we know, he recently quit the party to join Eknath Shinde's Shiv Sena. So Milind, welcome. This is the first conversation we're having ever since you quit the Congress. So it's been a month now. So it's time. I think you've done enough stock taking. So any regrets?
No, it's been a few weeks, Priya. It's been a little less than a month, but no regrets at all. Um, this was a difficult decision for me, very tough decision to take. I had to end a 55-year-old professional relationship with this party, but in the statement which I put out, my reasons were very clear as to why I wanted to move on, why I felt that I needed to find a platform through which I could contribute more constructively more meaningfully towards Mumbai, towards Maharashtra, towards India. And that's how I took that decision.
I won't go too much in the decision because much has been spoken about that also. But personally, Milind, where does that leave you in terms of, it's also not just joining another party. It's, I would say it's also joining another ideology. The Eknath Shinde Sena is aligned with the BJP. You always call yourself a centrist. As a union minister also, I remember we've had a lot of conversations. Your governance pattern, your paradigms have all been, towards the center. Here you're moving a little bit, if not quite a bit, towards the right.
Well, Priya, in the same way, one can argue that, when I was in Congress was moving a lot to the left.
That's true.
Congress did an alliance in Maharashtra which, if you ask me before that alliance happened, whether Congress could do an alliance with Shiv Sena, nobody thought that could happen. For the sake of power, both parties decided to do this alliance. Clearly, we saw what happened to Shiv Sena after that. For me, my view in my direction about my politics, my ideology, what I intend to achieve hasn't changed at all. I remain very consistent when I entered politics in 2004 to now 20 years later. My ideology has always been my politics has always been very constructive. It's always been very development oriented. Even when I was in the opposition in the Congress, and we were in the opposition from 2004 to now, till a few weeks ago, I never made personal attacks against anyone. I always criticized or critiqued on policy, on ideas. I gave constructive suggestions. And that's the politics which I will continue to indulge in. Ultimately, people have to determine in any organization, whether you're a politician, whether you're a media professional, whether you work in the private sector, you have to ask yourself, what is your purpose in that organization and in that profession? And for me, when I entered in 2004, my purpose was very clear that I will stay true to who I am as a person, to my ideas, to what I believe in. But my purpose was very clear that I want to be able to make a constructive and meaningful difference, a positive difference towards Mumbai, which is a city I love and that I've grown up in and that I continue to live in. Towards my state, Maharashtra, and towards my country. And my politics has consistently reflected that strain of politics has been there throughout my politics. And frankly, even before me, my father. My father had the ability to, despite being a congressman, had the ability to work with Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji when he was Prime Minister, to work with Deve Gowda when he was Prime Minister. To work with chief ministers from different parties for the betterment of India, for the betterment of the state, for the betterment of Mumbai. I think politics in general has become so divided, and so people think, oh, you belong to one particular party, you can't talk to another party, and that's a breakdown of our system of governance. In fact, parliamentary democracies like India, the systems were not designed for that kind of dualism. They were designed for a difference of opinions, for a healthy debate, and eventually for coming together on certain issues and getting things done. And the politicians that I look up to, who kind of mentored me, taught me, instilled these values in me, are people like my father, are people like Dr. Manmohan Singh, are people like Arun Jaitley. I see that happening with the Prime Minister today. With a person like Somnath Chatterjee, who was speaker during my first term, again, cutting across from BJP, Prime Minister and Arun Jaitley, to the communists of Somnath Chatterjee, to people in the Congress like my father and Manmohan Singh, who understood that politics is about cutting across the aisle to get something done for the country. And that is at the core of what my politics is about. And that is what I hope to continue to do through the Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde.
Actually, it's interesting you say that, because
who, by the way, has a very similar view. He was very clear to me that, Milind, I'm continuously being criticized on non-issues, but I don't respond to them. I just continue to put my head down and work and focus on what I think is important for Mumbai, for Maharashtra, for India. And I want you to do the same thing. And I need someone like you who can help me do the same thing. So I've not heard, that was like music to my ears, because I haven't heard that in a long time in politics. I haven't heard that for about 5 years, that, Milind, put your head down, let's do something constructive. I haven't heard words like constructive, positive, don't respond, don't react, focus on what's good, what's right, talk about what is your strength and not what is someone else's weakness, what you bring to the table. And those are the core values of my politics. So I'm happy to be able to be, I'm happy that in a few weeks' time, I've been able to contribute meaningfully to help Eknath Shinde as Chief Minister of Maharashtra to fulfill his objectives as the Chief Minister of the state. And I hope to continue to do that.
In fact, I remember I went through a Twitter timeline just before this conversation, and I saw you retweeting a picture that Prime Minister took with Emmanuel Macron. And I was thinking, would Milind do that when he was in the Congress? And I think the answer is yes. Your politics has always been issue-based rather than personality-based. I remember on 370 you welcomed it. You've been taking lines that were against the Congress line. So is that going to continue with, something Congress does good, would you go ahead and praise them?
Absolutely. If someone is doing something good, yes, I will support that. There's no harm in supporting that. And you're absolutely right, Priya. I've been very consistent. In fact, as a Congress member of the opposition in the last 10 years, there are many times where I praise some of the Prime Minister's initiatives.
Yes.
I thought what he, in many ways, areas that he, the way he's taken advantage of the tailwinds right after COVID, his handling of COVID, post-COVID, how the Prime Minister, under his leadership, India has taken advantage of certain tailwinds vis-a-vis China. How we've gone about our foreign policy, how we've gone about our economic policy. All of these are very good examples where I think I've been vindicated in terms of supporting him. And so, I think these are areas which I will continue to support. I understand in politics, we fight elections every 5 years. We have to criticize one another. We have to sometimes criticize for the sake of criticizing. That's part of politics. But we can't be doing that 5 years every day, 365 days of the year for 5 years. Then the system will collapse. And eventually, I think what happens then, the public will stop believing in somebody's credibility as someone who creates constructive suggestions to the table. And so I tried to push that agenda when I was in the Congress. But now I wish them the best. I think they know what is best for them. To me, the writing on the wall was very clear during my days in the Congress. And now I can't look back anymore. I've moved on. Now I want to contribute, as I said, more meaningfully through a system, through a party, through an alliance that I think wants to do some constructive work for Mumbai, Maharashtra, and for India.
Okay, one of the reasons, or you said, Congress was moving leftwards. We've heard a lot of criticism of corporates by the Congress. How do you see the corporate political equation? Because there is a thing, if you favor a corporate or you lean towards one, then at the end of the day, it's a give and take equation. How do you see this equation? How would you explain it?
No, I would not want to get into whether Congress has moved further to the left or not. I mean, the party that Congress was a party that under Dr. Manmohan Singh's leadership in 1991, under Narasimha Rao's leadership, unleashed economic reforms in this country in 1991. In 2016, we completed 25 years of India's economic reform story. In 2021, we completed 30 years. Should the party have celebrated that? In my opinion, the party should have. So, for example, issue like UCC, an issue like 370. These are not new issues. These are issues which the founding fathers, which were Congress leaders in the Constituent Assembly, in the Constitution, they believed that 370 is a temporary provision. That's why it was called a temporary provision. They believed that UCC is something which should be implemented in our country to move towards a more Western liberal form of secular democracy. In fact, as recently, I think as 2002 or 2003, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was the Prime Minister of India, and L.K. Advani ji was the Deputy Prime Minister of India. Dr. Manmohan Singh, in his speech as leader of opposition, said, "We need CA." So it's not for me to say who's moved left or who's moved right. This is very clear that the Congress, I think, certainly should reflect on why, forget about what the founding fathers did in 1947, but what Dr. Manmohan Singh did in 2002 or in 1991. Was it prudent for the Congress to have abandoned those views? So, as I said, I wish the Congress my best. I can only hope that the country gets a very constructive, strong opposition. I think that's good for the country, and I think even a BJP supporter would say that it's important that India has a strong opposition, a constructive opposition. So that's the best we can hope for.
But that's not happening, is it? I saw a tweet of chickens have come home to roost when Mamata Banerjee.
Again, I don't want to score a political point and make it about the Congress because I've moved on. But there are certain things we all knew about. We knew which direction the opposition was headed in. To me, the writing was clearly on the wall. But in many cases, in many sectors, not just in politics, sometimes some people are able to see the writing on the wall. Sometimes some people are unable to see the writing on the wall. So those who are able to see the writing on the wall can only wish those who are unable to see it the best.
You'd also, in the middle, I have been to Davos. I saw you there. What is the mood like? What is the India story there? What did your learnings from there? If you can share with our viewers.
Well, the general view, and one doesn't need to travel to Davos to get that view today in today's day and age where information is so easily accessible. I think the general, if you really zoom out of India and you look at the global view, there is certainly a concern among Western democracies, a very serious concern about Chinese aggression, about the CCP aggression. And that's playing out in many parts of the world. That's playing out, as I said, in South America, in Africa, in Europe, in the Arctic, the northern hemisphere of the world, in the South China Sea, in Maldives. And I think that the world is looking towards India for leadership, towards what I would call, to use a spiritual phrase, towards non-dualistic leadership, where a country that can bring sides together and present a new vision for the world on how to take the world forward, not India forward, the world forward. And so in that sense, if you ask me what was the prevalent mood in a place like Davos, the mood is that under Prime Minister's leadership, India has the ability to do that. India has exciting tailwinds that people want to deleverage from China, and that India is in a very unique position given its leadership, given its population, given its young population, the fact that Europe, China, Japan, and many other countries have an aging population, that India can provide leadership to the world, economically, politically, militarily, from a foreign policy standpoint, frankly, Priya, even spiritually. And I think that seems to be the prevalent sentiment globally. And hats off really to the Prime Minister for being able to articulate that, for being able to convert that strategy into execution, into implementation. It's very easy to articulate a policy, but it's very difficult to implement that policy. And that seems to be the prevalent sentiment going forward. So I think that I'm very excited about the country. I think Davos is obviously a very unique place in that we're beginning to see now is, within within 20 meters of each other, you see the India pavilion, which is talking about India. You see the Maharashtra pavilion saying, come and invest in Maharashtra. You see the Tamil Nadu pavilion saying, come invest in Tamil Nadu. You see Telangana's pavilion. You see Karnataka's pavilion. You see there were one or two other states, if I'm not mistaken. And it's healthy. It's healthy that, there are multinational companies, the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. They can choose between whether going to another country in the world or India. Then when they say we want to go to India, there's competition there between states. And that's a good thing. I think that's a unique thing. I'm sort of characteristic about India that I'm noticing in the last few years, where you're seeing states compete with one another. Where if this state government is not able to give you what you need to come in and invest and to create jobs, I will do this better for you. And so obviously I went there on a personal visit, but I had the ability to, naturally I'm from Maharashtra, I'm from Mumbai. So if I was able to help bring a few people to meet Eknath Shinde ji as chief minister, to help those groups meet him and his economic team. And I think he's somebody who's very, very proactive, very dynamic, very quick, very focused on not just how many MOUs we sign, but how many are being converted into real projects on the ground. There was a time where the politics was all about just sign MOUs, make a statement. I've signed so many thousands of crores worth of MOUs, and you don't really care about what's happened on the ground. The MOUs don't fructify or materialize. He was very clear how many will fructify, how many can actually happen. We've signed an MOU, but is there land available for this project? So I like that kind of leadership. I like someone who wants to get things done. And my politics has always been like that. You show me a problem, we'll try to find a solution to get it done. Not the other way around.
On that note, I'm going to take a quick break and come back and ask Milind a little more, go into specifics as to what can be done for Maharashtra, and also where does he see India in terms of economy? Because, the budget is coming up, Milind. So just a few suggestions from you on that one. A quick break. Welcome back to a cover story conversation with Milind Deora, former Union Minister, former Congress MP, now joining Eknath Shinde's Shiv Sena. Milind, we were talking about, but specifically in being with the Eknath Shinde, how do you see your role? What can you do for Maharashtra? And would you be like someone, you told that he needs an ambassador to Delhi also? You're someone, being a former Union Minister, the workings of Delhi, whether it's fundraising, whether it's talking to people, whether it's the, investments, you can do all that. But that's all our speculation.
Yeah, my role and my family's role has always been our primary role and responsibility in politics has been to be Mumbai's voice in Delhi, to be India's voice globally. And I believe that's a role I can continue to play here. If you look at what is happening in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, I'm not sure when you last came to Mumbai, but the city has transformed in the last 5 years and the last 10 years, really, in terms of infrastructure rollout. In the last couple of years, you would have seen massive projects which are going to fundamentally and for the better alter Mumbai's infrastructure, the way we commute, the way we live, the amount of affordable housing stock that can be generated in a city like Mumbai. And it's very important to get Mumbai right, because Mumbai is a growth engine, not just for Maharashtra, but it's also a growth engine for India. And, today I always say, it's not me only, but people who always say that a city like Dubai is one of India's best cities, because there are a lot of Indian businessmen who move to Dubai. Dubai has a tax regime which no city in India has or can compete with. It has a different quality of life. Um, so, how do we compete? Today, Mumbai's competition is not Delhi, it's not Chennai, it's not Bengaluru, it's not Ahmedabad. I believe it's a city like Dubai.
Yeah.
It's a country like Singapore. And how do we create the world class infrastructure in a city like Mumbai, in what's called the MMR region, which includes Thane, which is a part of the CM's constituency? How do we create world class legislations, laws, incentives that keep people here? So, to me, that is the challenge. And that is the vision that I think that we need to focus on. Not just for Mumbai, again, not just for Mumbai and Maharashtra, but for India. This is beneficial to the country. When businesses leave and set up shop in the UAE or in Singapore, it's not Mumbai or Maharashtra only who lose, it's India that loses. And we have to be mindful of those things. That we have two cities, two countries within a 3 hour flight and 4 hour flight away from us that are taking away our business, that are taking away economic opportunities. So that is an example of a vision that I hope to work with the Chief Minister on. I fundamentally believe that Mumbai is that city that can offer those advantages for many reasons. Mumbai is it's a coastal city. It has two of the biggest ports in the country. In Mumbai, the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust and the Mumbai Port Trust. We have excellent connectivity. We have excellent human resources. We are now rolling out and building excellent infrastructure. We need to now focus on a next set of another area, which is quality of life initiatives, bringing down the AQI level, which will happen as infrastructure is rolled out. A large part of Mumbai's AQI, matching almost Delhi's AQI, by the way, is because you're rolling out so much infrastructure, there's so much construction activity, there's so much dust. So these are all parts of a plan which will make Mumbai not just the foremost economic capital of the country, but perhaps even take away business and bring back business, I would say, from other countries and other cities that we've lost out.
Mumbai recently saw that huge debate over the metro shed versus environment this thing. Where do you stand on that? In terms of the whole reforms, industry versus environment, reforms versus welfareism, reveries.
Look, I believe environment is clearly a focus. We can't afford to ignore environment and development. But I think it's very easy for someone who commutes by car and by private transport to stop a public infrastructure project. Ultimately, there are many gains from public infrastructure also. When you have public transport, you reduce vehicular emissions, you reduce nitrous oxides and air pollution. You save money on building roads as compared to building public transportation. When you build roads, what do you have to do? You have to reclaim land, you have to cut down forests. So you have to look at these things holistically, not oppose for the sake of opposing. So everything has a pro and a con, but when you plan these developmental activities, whether it's in Mumbai or in another part of the country, you have to think of the long term. And there are many areas. Now, for example, yesterday the Chief Minister launched a very impressive plan for, the government of India has a plan to make India a green hydrogen hub. Maharashtra wants to be an integral part and take a lion's share of that green hydrogen play to Maharashtra. So there are many areas where Mumbai and Maharashtra can also compete versus other states. We have, as I said, we have inherent advantages being a coastal state, having our human resources, being the financial nerve center of the country. There's no reason why we can't compete against other cities in IT. There's no reason why we can't compete against them in the green sector. So this is part of a vision which I believe will take shape in the weeks and the years to come. But what I'm encouraged about is, with the right leadership, the infrastructure of Mumbai is undergoing a massive facelift. And that opens up new avenues, new opportunities. For instance, now we have the largest sea bridge in the country, which I've been, by the way, talking about for 20 years. In 2003, I wrote an article, even before I got into politics, that to change Mumbai, to transform Mumbai, We need to have a bridge which connects the city to the hinterland. I gave an example of New York. The Brooklyn Bridge is still serving its purpose today. It's decongested Manhattan. It's created affordable housing for people. And I believe that's what the Trans Harbor Sea Link will do. It's provided connectivity to Uran, to the hinterland. It's provided connectivity to the new Navi Mumbai International Airport. So I believe that the government of Maharashtra today is undertaking these projects. They're fast about, they're very quick about taking decisions. And I think that those initiatives, once they're implemented, some of which have already been implemented, but others, once they're implemented, will fundamentally transform and strengthen our case to, as I said, bring back business from other parts of the world.
Well, at the end of the thing, before I let you go, we are seeing this, we're calling it the great exodus, not just from your party, but even people like Praful Patel, people, the Sena has broken up. There's been this churn that is happening. And is it all moving towards one ideology? Is it, how would you define this moment in Indian politics where there is a lot of exodus from what was earlier the UPA or the secular bloc to the other side, so to speak?
Look, I think to be fair, and, I don't think there's a debate on this. Today, if I look at Maharashtra, the only two parties that have been very consistent ideologically are Eknath Shindeji's Shiv Sena and BJP. Every other party.
Just because Congress tied up with Uddhav, is that?
I mean, when you compromise for power and not for your core beliefs and for your core fundamentals, like for example, as I said, I moved a party because my core beliefs, my fundamental ideology is to serve my city, my state, my country. If you compromise on those core beliefs, you will suffer the consequences of that. So a party like Shiv Sena, for example, when they aligned with the Congress, they took a fundamental, they took I would say, a risk by moving 180 degrees. And there's bound to be a political backlash from that. They also knew there would be a political backlash. So when you start doing these things, that's when problems start to arise. Now, for example, let's say nationally, Aam Aadmi Party and Congress. Aam Aadmi Party became a political party from a movement to defeat the Congress. Today, that Aam Aadmi Party and Congress are trying to align together. TMC in West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, she left the Congress. She must have left the Congress for a particular reason. Now there is a potential conversation of having an ideology with the alliance with the Congress. So when you do those kinds of things, yes, once in a while I understand politics is about the art of the possible. There's no permanent friends and enemies in politics, as they say. But when this becomes part of your policy, when parties suddenly shift, forget about their past, forget about their ideology, abandon leaders and their views, you then are entering a very risky terrain. And I think that's what happened with certain parties. And it's very clear those who did that are the ones bearing the brunt. The ones who haven't done that or are being very cautious about whether to do that are still holding fort. There's even a regional party today that is cautious about entering into an alliance, still holding its MLAs together, its party together, its state government together. So there's the proof is in the pudding. The writing is on the wall. If you don't reform, you perish. If you reform by compromising on your core beliefs, your core values, you take 180 flips, you then risk losing everything.
On that note, Milind Deora, thank you so much. In fact, just a nostalgic note, I still remember that cover story I did in India Today with all of you. The class of 2004. There was you, Jitin Prasad, Jyotiraditya Scindia, I think Sandeep Dikshit. Some of you is not still there, not so happy. But it's sad to see that breakup. But I wish you all the best on your new innings, and of course, more conversations like this. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.